There you go.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, share screen. All right. All right, so as I said, we're part of the SBDC. This presentation that I'm going to give you today is actually provided by Google. The SBDC is an approved presenter for a program called Grow with Google. What Google done is they've put together a series of these presentations for their partners to use to help out their clients. And so pretty much this entire presentation was given to us by Google. Let's see. We also have a bunch of partners here, which also help to make all of this possible. These are our partners here. All right, so this particular presentation is about it's about Google My Business, and we'll get into what that is. What I've actually done is kind of split this into two parts. There's kind of a natural separation here. The first part, which we're going to do today, is about what is it that you're really affecting, why is it important, and then how do you actually register your business with Google. There's actually a natural break there, because once you register, it's about a 2-week period before Google sends you a validation letter in the mail that you've got to put a code in to kind of say, yep, this is really me. And then after that, you can go in and configure your profile even more. So we're going to take it all the way today to the part of sending and waiting for that postcard. And then our part 2, which is on March 9th, that's when we're going to get into a lot of the sections. I think there's 10 sections where you can put information about your business, and we'll cover each of those sections, why it's important to put those components in. We'll touch on a little of them today, but again, today is to kind of get you to the point of getting registered with Google. All right, so again, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about what a Google profile is, a business profile, why is it important, and then how do you go about creating it. So what I first want to do is kind of make sure you understand, when you create a Google My Business profile, what are you actually doing and where does it show up in Google? So unfortunately, Google's the search giant, right? Whether you like Google or not, if you've got a business, you've got to play nice with them. And playing nice with them, they provide you this free tool to go in and get your business information in. So I'm sure we've all done searches on Google. This particular one is a very common search, when you search for something near me. It brings back a map and it brings back a listing. And so, right here, you're going to see there are four listings here, and the information that's there is actually pulled out of your Google profile, your Google business profile. And so we'll get into some of the details of that, but this is one of the places where your Google business profile shows up. And then, of course, if you do a direct search on a business, so I searched on Mass Academy, which is a local school here, you see this little cutout over here on the right hand side, and that again, that information that's in there is provided by you and is there. If you don't set up a Google profile, your business may or may not show up here. If you've got a business that has a lot of internet traffic, Google will actually try to generate this profile by itself and put something here. However, my opinion and something I strongly suggest is, as a business owner, you need to control the data that shows up here. I think it's vital that you take control of that. And then the last one is, we've all done searches. We're looking for directions, or we've done map searches, and it shows the little snippets across the bottom with a photo and some very basic information there. But as you click on it again, that profile on the left-hand side shows up, and that's again, that's all based on the information that we're going to go over and put into the system. All right, so that's, those are kind of the areas that your Google profile shows up. I'm sure there's probably others, but I think these three are really going to be your most common places that people are going to see those profiles. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to show you a little video that Google provided. It's a business owner just talking about their Google My Business profile.
My name is Vince. This is my shop. I opened Village Tailor and Cleaners in 1977. I arrived in New York 4 years earlier from Italy. It was me, my brother, my mom, and my dad. My mother taught me how to sew. When I opened the shop, the first person I hired was my mother. This is Bruno, the store mascot. My little advertisement. As a business owner, you're always thinking, how can you do better? I noticed that customers come in with the clothes in one hand and the phone on the other, always looking up information. So I said to myself, we have to put this store online. Google lets me decide how the shop shows up. I pick photos, I can post special hours, anything. I made this website in 10 minutes using the website builder. And I'm not kidding. Now people walk in and I'm always asking, how did you find this? They used to say, I saw Bruno, so I came in. Now they say, Google. Believe it or not, we're up 30% this year. We're doing enough business. I had to hire more tailors and get some new machines. I've got 3 shops going. And my son, Vincent Jr., is running one of them, the Village Cowboy next door. I'm in an old-fashioned profession. I work with my hands. I hadn't thought much about putting the business online. Now, I couldn't be happier. Village Tailor, 40 years and going strong.
All right, so Vince makes the claim in there that his business has increased 30% since he's put his profile on Google. Good for Vince. I am going to say I'm not sure that's going to happen for everyone who puts their profile on Google, but if nothing else, it's surely going to help. I mean, as I said before, Google is such the giant in the search engine, and by creating a Google My Business profile, what you're doing is you're telling Google about your business. You're telling them to recognize you, and that I think is really the importance of this, along with providing valuable and accurate information about your business. In there, you're going to actually put in your website if you've got a website. So now you're making a link for Google between Google My Business profile and your website, which really helps out your SEO. So SEO is search engine optimization. That's a whole topic in itself that someday we may put a presentation on. But the importance of it is that Google needs to know who you are, who your business is, and like I said, that link to your website is a very important thing, because Google will then go out and crawl your website and look for information and details, and all of that goes into their mysterious algorithm as to what shows up on on your searches. So that's really the value and the importance of creating these profiles. What's an interesting thing is that the information that shows up on here, I had said before that if you don't do this, Google will do its best to fill in this information. A lot of times, so this is the anatomy of the profile. And at the top, you see that there's a photo. I'm sure many of you have seen, it's kind of, I think Google defaults to the street view of your address as the photo up there. And so who wants that? And so a funny story there, my last business was a co-working business, and I I rented a former funeral home, and that was my location. And so when Google found out that my address was at this location, and when people Googled my business before I created the profile, it would come up, but Google would show the street view of my address. And right on there was a big, huge sign that said Caswell King Funeral Home. So as you can imagine, it's not very good business for a co-working space to advertise that it was a formal funeral home. So, kind of brings to the point of the need for you to go in and update your profile and make sure the right information is there. The anatomy here that you see, top is a photo. We'll get into photos a little bit later, but you can put as many photos as you want in. Obviously, the name of your business. There's always the ranking that's there. So reviews is really kind of a whole nother animal that we're not necessarily going to cover in this presentation, or even really in the next. We'll touch upon it in the next because there's an opportunity for you to respond to reviews once you've got this set up. It has the open, it says that the business is currently open. That's really important, especially if around holiday times. If you're closed for Thanksgiving, you can go in and tell Google you're closed for Thanksgiving. I'm sure you've all seen when you Google a site, it says hours may be different. And that's just because the owner of the business hasn't gone in and actually defined their business hours, or they haven't defined, what's their schedule during the holidays. And then of course there's the links. So if you put a phone number in, the call button shows up. If you have an address, the direction button shows up. And then of course, if you put a website in, the website shows up and it has addresses there. So that's kind of the profile of the thing. Google has this little fact: up-to-date business profiles are 2.7 times more likely to be considered reputable. Okay, what exactly does that mean? I think what it means is, we're all we all are affected by the shiny light thing, right? You put a pretty picture on the right-hand side, we're more likely to go not look at the search results, but go look at that nice pretty picture on the right-hand side and start clicking in there. So I think by having a profile, by having a up-to-date profile, I think your search users are going to be more likely are going to click on your profile. So then their next little fact that they have is up-to-date profiles are 70% more likely to attract location visits and 50% more likely to lead to a purchase. Again, Google has their teams of analytics people who are reviewing all this information, and that's what they that's what they've come up with. So who actually shows up on Google searches? What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually read what Google says, because I don't want to get this wrong. This is what Google says about who shows up on these searches. There are many signals Google uses to determine which results to show, including factors like relevancy, distance, and prominence. So what the heck does that mean? Okay, so relevancy is how well a business profile matches the search. Okay, pretty straightforward. If your profile is detailed and up to date, Google is more likely to show it for relevant searches. And there's a key thing in there that it's up to date. Google knows when you've updated your profile. So if you put your profile out there and you leave it there for 2 years and never touch it, the algorithms are gonna think this is a dead business, and it's gonna be less likely to put your picture up there. So it is very important to update this information on a regular basis. So that's as simple as changing your hours, putting in your holiday hours, just putting a little note out there. And again, that's more of what's going to be covered in part 2. Distance. Well, distance is exactly as it sounds. How close is the business to the person who's searching? And then prominence, this is probably the most vague of them all, is prominence is gauged by how well known the business is based on information Google can find across the web. So you can interpret that however you like. I'm not exactly sure how to really quantify that. All right. So Google, of course, has kind of optimized their software. So it's going to work on a tablet, it's going to work on a PC, and it's going to work on a phone. So this picture here shows you that, you know, it'll fit really nicely into all of these devices. And I think, you know, majority of folks are going to do the searches on their phone, and the directions and the call buttons, I know, at least with my businesses, were used quite a bit. You know, they search, they see it, they hit call, it rings right on the phone. There's another webinar that we're going to do, which is about analytics in general. And that's a fairly good class for you to take when we do offer it, because then it gets into understanding how people are interacting with your Google My Profile and your website. That's something that will be coming in a little bit later. All right, so I've covered a lot kind of as far as what it is that you're trying to create and the importance of what it is. I just want to take a pause here because I know I tend to just talk too much. Are there any questions yet? And if so, please just type them in to the chat, and I'll do my best to try to answer them for you.
Don't be shy. I'd be curious to know how many that are on here who have a business have set it up on Google. Anybody? Come on now, kids.
I have Beth Charters.
Okay.
And I'm an Avon representative, and technology, I shied away, but this year I said, I've got to do something because I want my business to grow. I'm an independent Avon sales representative, and I believe it's on Google Business, except that postcard. I don't recall if I ever got a postcard. And one thing I learned big is when he said you have to constantly be in there and changing sort of your hours. To me, I think it's been there for years and I really didn't do much because I just didn't know. So I've already learned something. Thanks so much. And I look forward to learning more.
All right, we're done. No, just kidding. You know, it's funny you say that about the postcard, because I can't tell you how many people have said that. The postcard that comes in the mail looks like junk mail. And I can't tell you how many people have thrown that thing away. So when we get to the end here and and you actually submit, you know, your profile for Google recognition, you know, what I say to people is check your mail on a regular basis. Tell everyone in your household who gets the mail, do not throw anything away that says Google on it, because so many people have just said, oh, this is junk mail, and tossed it. Thank you for bringing that up because it's really an important piece. All right, so let's start with how do you create your profile. If you were to actually Google your business right now, like I said, you may actually see a profile, you know, like this here on the right-hand side for your business. And like I said, if you've got a business that has had some good search results and Google feels as though you're a popular business, it'll actually generate this screen for you. And you'll see on the bottom, there may be a link that says own this business and claim it now. And you can click on that. If you see that for your business, you can click on that right now and it will actually start the process. If you have a business that doesn't already have a profile, Google hasn't generated it yet, you can always go to this website that I've got highlighted here, google.com/business, and start the process. So one other thing that I'm going to say about claiming your own profile. So on the previous screen, right, I'm going to go back. It says own this business, claim it now. Anybody can click on that. Anybody. Your competitor can click on that. And if you haven't claimed your profile yet, Google's going to allow them to go through the process of setting up your profile. And really their only validation is going to be that postcard that gets in the mail, and they're going to validate some of the information that you put in. But I think the important thing is claim your business profile. Don't leave the opportunity for someone else to claim it on your behalf. The screen that you're looking at right now is if that still exists there, and for some reason, even after you've claimed your profile, that still is there on some of the sites. If you click on it and it's already been claimed, you see this message right here that it's already been. So Google won't allow you to claim it after the real business person has. On the reverse, if somebody's already claimed your business and you now have to go in and recover it, that's a fairly lengthy process of proving who you are and that it's your business with Google. So just a word of warning, if you've got a business, you really need to do this.
Rob, can I interrupt 1 second? We have a question for people that are in a home business and they
Okay.
want to know how to highlight the town without giving their personal address.
Yep. So we're going to actually go over that in a couple of minutes. So when we get to that screen, I'll go over that.
Thank you.
All right. So again, google.com/business is where you start out. When you type that in, you're going to see this screen here or something similar to it. And you're just going to click on the Manage Now button to get the process going. So one of the things that Google requires is that you have a Google email, a Google account, in order to manage your Google My Business profile. So if you've got email for your business by some other provider, which I'm sure many of us do, you are going to have to create a Google email account to manage your Google My Business profile. It is what it is. It is a requirement of Google. So, there's a link here, accounts.google.com/signup. It takes 5 minutes. It's free. You create a Google account. Now you've got a Google email. And, the unfortunate thing is that when you create Google My Business profile, it's now associated to this email. So all emails about your activity and even people asking questions that all goes to this email, which is really kind of annoying because when I ran my businesses, I didn't use Google as my email engine. But like I said, it is what it is. Google's the giant. We got to play by their rules. That's their rule. So if you've got a personal Google email, that's fine. You don't need to create a new one. And if you don't have one, you're going to have to create one to go any farther. All right. So you start off and it says, and it's going to ask you for your business. And as you start typing your business name in, it's going to offer you suggestions. And again, if it has already gone out and created a profile for you, it wants to make sure that you pick the one that it's created so that you then take control of it and match it. So some of you will find your name in here, some of you won't. So if it doesn't show in, you just put the name of your business and you click the button that says add your business to Google. All right, and that'll start the process.
Rob?
Yes.
Debbie wants to know when she logs in, she sees her business listed twice. Once verified and another says verification required.
All right, so that means the process has been started twice for that business. And theoretically, there are two profiles out for the same business. So the one that's been verified, that's kind of the one that I would stick with, assuming you're the one that's verified it. And the other one, I would go in and try to release that profile so that you don't have two different profiles with Google.
Is that an easy step just to?
Honestly, I've never done that, so I don't know how easy it is. I mean, I can look into that to see if I can get some information from Google on that. But I have seen that before where There are two different profiles out there. And so in this prior step here, when I was talking about typing your name in and seeing a list that shows up, you know, one of those may be that other profile, and you maybe it was spelled wrong, or it was different. It didn't have the LLC after it, and you chose to put in your own and continue. Something like that probably is what's happened. So there's two profiles out there, but you really want to get it down to just one. Okay, what's the name of your business? Pretty straightforward. You put in the name of your business here and click next. Obviously, you want to make sure you spell the name of your business correctly and determine if you want to use the LLC or not. One of the things that I had learned is it's all part of the SEO engine, but whenever you register your business with, you know, here we're doing it with Google, or if you do it with Yelp, or if you do it with any of those online services, always use the same name. And you know, so that what I mean by that is include the LLC all the time, or never include the LLC, or include the INC for the S corps that are out there. Just be very consistent with how you enter your business name in all of these online profiles, because that allows Google then to scrub the internet and kind of tie all of these things together. If you vary how you list the name of your business, Google's not going to do a very good job of kind of pulling it all together. So it's very important that you're consistent with how you list the name of your business. And I know that sounds silly. You know, everybody's got a business name, they know what it is, but you'd be amazed at how many folks will list it with the LLC here, without the LLC there, with a period after the LLC. I mean, the internet's literal, so you just got to make sure it's consistent. All right. The next thing Google's going to ask you is to find a category that fits your business. And I will be 100% upfront with you. It's very difficult to find a category that fits most businesses. You know, when I did this for my co-working business, co-working was an unknown thing. There was nothing in here that matched my my business. So what Google says is pick something that's as close as possible. At least at this point, you know, you're limited to what they offer here. You got to pick something to move forward. So pick something that's as close as possible. And then as we get into actually getting into defining your business, putting in your information, choosing categories, you can really kind of modify that afterwards. All right, so pick a category here to continue. And so now we're going to talk about the locations. All right. The next thing is do you want to add a location for customers to visit you? So if you've got a storefront, this is an easy answer. Yes. You put your storefront address in here and you're good to go. For those that like the question about Debbie working from home, you don't want your home address in here because, you know, that's what's going to show up on the map. If you ever search your street, you're going to see your business name on your house, and you just don't want people to know where you live. So in this particular case, you would answer no. So what Google does for those individuals is allows you to define the area where your business services. So and so that's for some of you, that's an easy thing. For others, it's not. If you've got a business where you go out into Worcester County and work with customers, then, you know, that's will show us, I'm not quite sure if there's a screen here, but if you answer no here, you'll be asked what region you service. And you're allowed to put in a city or a zip code or a county.
They got it working today, so don't need to stress. They want that today.
Okay. So the challenge is like at one point I owned a consulting business and I consulted across the US. So what's the territory that I put in there? And the answer is there's no good answer to that. So I just chose Worcester County because a large percent of my customers were from around here, people that I knew, but I also did work with people across the whole US. It's a little bit difficult if your business, if you've got a type of business that isn't at a physical location, but it's still vital to get your business in here, so Google knows about it. So obviously the next screen is just going to ask you for your address that's in here. The one thing that you cannot do is put a PO box. Google will not accept a PO box here. One other thing for those that may struggle with this piece of it, I know a lot of individuals who use an address at a UPS store. So that the UPS stores, there's one on Park Ave here, and there's one in Holden. They provide suite numbers. So if you were to get an address, a PO box or a box, a suite box at one of those places, theoretically you could use that as your address. Now, it's funny if you ever Google, pull up Google Maps and look at those UPS stores, you'll see a whole bunch of pins on it, and those are all the businesses that have done that. It's an option. It's not a great option, but if you feel as though you need to have an address, that's one of those options for you. I think those boxes cost anywhere from $150 to $200 a year to have them. So this is where it does ask you, so I wasn't sure if I had a screen. So it does ask you about your service area. So even if you have a physical address, you still can put a service area in as well. Maybe you have a physical location, but you also go out into the world and consult with people or work with individuals. So you can have both, or you can have just an address, or you can have just a service area. So Google allows you to kind of pick one of those three scenarios. And again, service areas can be down to a postal code. It could be just a city, or it could be a county. I'm not quite sure if you can just put in a state, but it does allow you to do that. And I think you're allowed to put in multiple locations. All right, real simple. Next is phone number and website. So just a comment on the phone number. You may be inclined to put your cell phone number in there. I've always been an advocate of not using your cell phone here, at least, because this becomes a spammable number. Again, anyone who searches your business, there's your number going to be. All the crawlers and robots out on the internet are going to grab that and start spamming your phone. It's your choice. I know most of us and most of the small businesses, we run our business on our phone. And if that's what has to be there, then put it there. But it's just something to think about in the back of your head. What I ended up doing for my businesses is I went out and I got a voice over IP account that had a phone number that basically rang on my cell phone, but it allowed me to at least have two separate numbers and allowed me to turn that number on and off when I was working and not working. But something for you to think about. Obviously, put your website in here. If you've got a website, put it here. Again, as I said in the beginning, this is really a vital link between your business and your website, and Google will then, associate the two together, and we'll go out and crawl your website. We'll crawl your website regardless, but it all works towards improving your search results. If you do not have a website, I know there's a lot of businesses that are just using Instagram or they're using Facebook. Unfortunately, you can't put those in here. This Google requires you to have a website in this particular thing. Now, you can check off the box, I do not need a website, and there's really there's no harm in that. They do offer, as you can see, this bottom right here, get a free website based on your info. And if you remember in the video with Vince, he did that and he said it was great. I think it's a very basic website. It has your photos, it has your business information. It's really not much more than the window that shows up when people search on you. But you know what? It's free and it's available. And if you want to start off with that, it's an option that's available here. We will not cover in this presentation, or even really the next one, about creating that website. If folks have a need and have a desire to maybe have a webinar on that, then just let us know and I can put something together. All right, almost home. Finished with managing this list. All right, so at this point, that's really all of the information that's needed to kind of start the verification process. So you click next and it says choose a way to verify. So if you did put a physical address in, Google requires that the postcard go to that address. If you did not put an address in, or you put a region in, you're allowed to then put an address in here, and Google will send you the postcard to that address. So just to bring up the point I had made earlier, this postcard that comes in, it's about this big. It says Google across the top and a couple of things down here that says Google, and that's it. I think it's white. And it just looks like junk mail. And so, from this point forward, when you submit this, just keep checking your mailbox for this postcard that's going to come from Google. They say it's going to take up to 7 days was what they say. I've seen this take as long as 3 weeks to come. So you just keep looking until you get it. We're not in a busy time for the U.S. Post Office right now. Valentine's Day is done, and not too many cards for St. Patty's Day. I think if you were to submit it today, hopefully you'd get it, let's say within 2 weeks, you would get it. And then once you get it, you really open it up and all there is it's just a code. And when you log back into your profile, it'll provide an area for you to enter that code. And if you will, that unlocks your profile. Until you've entered that information in, if you were to continue on, and I'll show you this in a minute, if you were to continue on and add information, that information you add does not show up until you validate that you've received the code. And so that's kind of the process of kind of registering it with Google. Once you've done that, they actually ask a couple more questions to further define your profile, and I strongly suggest you continue with this. So before I had said when they force you to pick a category, you're at least able to come in here and choose some services associated to that category. Now, based on the category you pick, they're going to provide options that are here. So in this example, we're sticking with Vince the shoe guy. And so shoe repair was the category that we picked. And so they have some terms here that they feel as though match shoe repair. So you also have the ability of adding your own custom services down there. And for the most of us, I think that's what we're going to end up doing. The one thing I'd say about this is these options that Google provides here are more than likely search results, keywords that are often used in search results. So again, we're getting back to that whole search engine optimization, right? Somebody's looking for a shoe repair shop. They may type in heel repair. And so Google's already made these links between these keywords, these categories, and then if your business is affiliated with that, you're going to show up. So this all gets back into that relevancy category that I talked about earlier on. So if any of these are close to your business, man, check them. And if not, then go in and add your custom services here. And there's no harm that's in there. They're just potentially may not be keywords that Google's aware of. But if you have a great business, they'll become aware of it. Click Save to continue on. And then it's going to ask you for a business description. So what I'm going to say about this is that people kind of tend to just rush by this phase right here. This is your first window with your customers, your potential customers. And I strongly recommend that you spend a fair amount of time coming up with a good description of your business that's captivating, that's going to captivate your audience. We all have the 2 or 3 second, limitation of our concentration. So although they offer you 750 characters here, I really wouldn't put 750 characters. It's about 500 too many. Put a short description in here that captures their imagination, helps them understand what your business does. I think anyways, Google's going to stop it after two sentences and put the more button on. So they're not even going to see really the rest of it. The idea is you're going to captivate them and get them to your website where you've got all of the information about your business there. So think about it. Again, don't just rush through this and put something in. You of course can change this at any time. When we get into the dashboard, you can go in and change your description at any time. All right. The next thing they ask is photos. So even before you've been validated, they allow you to start uploading photos here. And I strongly recommend that you put photos in here. I don't know if you've ever done searches on Google Maps, and you click on one of the pins, and of course the window comes up with the profile on it. But then on the left-hand side, there's like a stream of photos that are there. A lot of times you'll see them for restaurants. That's a great way to advertise your business. Everyone loves photos. You can even put videos in here if you want. So if you've got photos of your business, of your customers, of your products, whatever, put photos in here. And they do, once we get into the dashboard, they do allow you to say which one is going to be your main photo. And that's the one that appears at the top of that profile when people search on your thing, as opposed to what Google picks. If you've got photos, use them, put them in. And this is one of those areas that you can change on a regular basis, again, to help Google realize that it's a viable business. You're out with a customer and you take a photo, come back into Google, put it in. It shows Google that you're active, and it shows everyone in the world that you've got happy customers. Couple of guidelines that Google says for photos: format JPEG or PNGs, between 10 kilobits and 5 meg. Recommended resolution 720 by 720. Minimum resolution 250 by 250. And then for a video, nothing more than 30 seconds. If it's over 30 seconds, Google will not post it. Up to 100 meg in size, and a resolution 720p or higher is what they recommend. Okay. Your business profile is almost ready. So at this point, you're kind of done entering the information that is going to show up on your profile prior to your registration of the business. There is absolutely a delay in you doing this and it showing up on the Google profile. As a matter of fact, any information that you put in your dashboard, actually Google verifies before they publish it. So it's not an immediate publish. If you put photos in, they're going to validate that they're acceptable photos. Even when you put a change in your business time, Google has to verify that before it actually becomes live and published. They're pretty quick about things like that. But in the case of like for your hours of operation during holidays, just do them in advance so they're approved and they're ready to go during it. So what you're looking at right now on the screen is what the Google My Business dashboard looks like. And as you can see over on the side here are all the different categories that you can go in and modify your business. So again, trying to be respectful of time. I've kept this to just stopping here. And the next presentation that's in March 9th, we're going to actually go through each of these topics and help you kind of define your business and put the right information in. And we'll talk about the relevance of some of the things that you can do in there to make this an interactive thing for your customers. Google does add these specialty things. So if you see in the middle of the screen here, they actually have a section for COVID-19. So when the pandemic hit, Everybody was calling businesses asking, are you open? Are you open? What's your policies? So Google actually put this in here. So if you're a business that is accepting customers, it allows you to go in here and define what your policies are, and if you're open for business or not. So that's nice that they do that. And as things change, things happen, Google will pop these little modules in, so you can interact with them and be responsive for your customer base. All right. So again, I said a lot there. Any questions that we have? We're at the 45-minute mark. I've left about 15 minutes for Q&A. If anybody has any questions, please ask. This is my contact information here. Email me or give me a call. I'll be more than happy to help you if you've got questions. Sarah is going to send out, well, I'll let you talk, Sarah. Go ahead. Tell us what you're going to do.
And I think Elena has a question to ask you in 1 second. So
Okay.
I'm going to send out, I mentioned to somebody, Rob's slides that he just, so you have them all. Also an evaluation, so you guys can rate this webinar, what was good, what was bad. And there's an open comment sections for future webinars you may like to see. So I know it's annoying, it's an evaluation, it literally takes less than 2 minutes. So if you could fill that out, it's electronic, online. And always, I like to give a shout out to our Facebook page. If you are not following us, please do so. It's the Small Business Development Center at Clark University. Equally, if you have a business, please let me know or reach out to Rob so we can start following you. I like to share pages of clients that we have with us. So that's important too. Miss Elena, why don't you ask Mr. DelMastro your question?
The question that I have, being an independent sales rep, is that I do keep inventory on hand and I would like to promote it. And I believe I have my home address, but I also do a lot more online, which is where I really want to target is online customers. So I put 24/7 on my website. So I have two questions. One is it still advisable not to put my home address, even though I live in a mobile park and, you know, everyone is so nearby. My neighbors are very close by. And two, what happens if you wanted to use both? Is there a way that we could put both online and be able to stop by and see what I have? Of course, with the COVID going on, they would have to be wearing masks and gloves, and I'll have some on hand just in case they don't have it.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, it's really a matter of personal preference. If you're okay having your home address as your business profile, then that's really up to you. You know, that's again, that's a very personal decision that you have to make. If you're seeing people in your home, maybe it makes sense. You don't necessarily have to. You can just use the region and just say, you know, this is the area I cover. Worcester County is where I sell my products. And when somebody contacts you, you can then give them your address to your home. You know, what they say is you put your home address in there and you say, especially if you're going to say you're open 24 hours. So somebody shows up at your house at 9 o'clock at night because online it says, this is the address and we're open. How are you going to feel about that?
Yeah, no, and that's what I meant. Is there a way to separate if I did the home? Because the home I'll feel comfortable like from 9 to 7 p.m. But I don't want someone showing up at 9 p.m. But I don't know if there's a way to differentiate. Yeah, it's 24/7, but that means going online on the website where they can do whatever, but to physically and by appointment. So I was not too sure if there was a way of doing that.
I'm not aware of that. I know that if you had multiple locations, there is a means in there of putting in multiple locations, but I'm not quite sure if you have one location and then you want to have two open and close things. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not aware of being able to do that. and you've got to be careful with saying you're open 24 hours. I mean, I've run businesses and I know that we work crazy hours and it seems like we're open 24 hours, but make sure you're honest with your customers. You know, are you really open 24 hours or are you open from 7 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night? And if you are, you need to be responsive during those periods of times, because one of the things a customer can do with your profile is actually send you a message. And if it says you're open and you don't respond, that sends a bad message to your customer, and it also sends a bad message to Google, because they actually review how responsive you are to your customers. So I would just caution you to say you're open 24 hours a day.
Okay, and I appreciate that, because the 24 meant that it's on the website, but I'm glad that that was clarified. So I'll be working a little bit more on that. So our next meeting, March 9th, I thank you. This was very, very helpful.
Well, good.
Look
I'm glad.
forward to go into another webinar.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
All righty.
Very welcome.
All right. What else we got?
Does anybody else have any questions, thoughts, comments?
Yes, I'm Sawana and I have a question. So after you create that email address, what's the best way to start these steps to create your Google profile?
So you would go to, what the heck was that? It was, it's google.com/business is where you would go, and you would start to say manage my profile, and it's going to ask you to log in with your new Google ID, and then your business will be forever associated to that email. And I say that jokingly. You can go in and change that, but it's always going to have to be a Google email for it to work.
So this is a way for Google to get in touch with you, or is it a way your customers will get in touch with you?
You don't have to show your email on your profile. As a matter of fact, I think you could actually use your business profile on the definitions for people to get in touch with you. It's just, in order to create the Google My Business account, you have to have a Google email to do that. It's just one of their rules. Kind of crazy, but that's what the rule is. And as I said, as things happen with your profile, or if Google's sending you messages about, you need to update. So every once in a while they'll say, Thanksgiving's coming, you need to update your business information. It's going to go to that email, unfortunately.
Okay. Let's see. Business.google.com, is that it?
That is another, yeah, they actually don't mention that in this presentation, but that does work as well. So I'm actually gonna, Sarah's actually gonna send out a handout as well, and it actually will walk you through the steps of creating your profile, everything we did today.
Great. All right. Thank you, Rob. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Sarah.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming.
Of course. It's been fun. I think I've been coming like at least once a week.
I have seen your picture and your name, so thank you for speaking today. It's always nice to hear from you guys.
All right. Any other questions before we sign off?
I did have one more question. How do I know if I'm verified? Because I don't know if I ever got that card or I did it.
I think if you go into your profile, it's gonna say, I know that if you're not verified, it's like very predominant on your dashboard that, it's asking you for that code. So if you pull up your business profile and you don't see that, that means you've been verified.
Thank you.
All righty. All righty, everybody. Hope everyone has a good day. It's so great that we finally are above freezing today with the sun. So get out there and enjoy the nice weather. And hopefully I'll see all of you on the 9th. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Rob.
and stay
Thank
safe,
you all.
everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.